Hello and welcome. Today we are continuing our free plugin series. And so the subject of today's video is this really lovely sounding and very flexible compressor. And it is the Kotelnikov compressor. So the Kotelnikov is touted as being a mastering compressor. So it is suited to dealing with complex stereo material, and which of course then means it's also suitable for bus compression as well. Now the Kotelnikov is both a peak compressor and an RMS compressor in one and at the same time. So for all intents and purposes, the Kotelnikov works with two thresholds, one for peak and the other one for the main body of the audio, which is the RMS. And it can also be switched to being just a peak compressor or just being an RMS compressor. Now looking at this plugin, at first it may seem a little bit daunting. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the functions on it and then use it on a drum bus. So let's get started. We're going to start on the left hand side of the compressor over here. And this thing here, the low frequency relax. This controls the compressor's sensitivity to low frequencies. And basically it consists of a high pass filter in the compressor sidechain. The turnover frequency is adjustable from 25 Hz to 500 Hz, and you can do that either by just clicking directly in here and adjusting it, and you can see the frequencies changing here, or you can quite simply just click in here and type in a value. And of course, high pass filters, their slopes are measured in dB per octave, and this is also adjustable. Click here, drop down menu. It can be set to flat, which means it's not doing anything. It's having no effect whatsoever in the sidechain. Or we have three settings to choose from, 3, 6 and 12 dB per octave. And the 3 dB setting is its default setting, that one here. So down below this, we have a stereo sensitivity. So basically, this is Kotelnikov's way of controlling linking and unlinking of our left-right channels. It's measured in percentage. 0% means it is fully linked. 100% means it is fully unlinked. And this can be changed either yet again by clicking directly there and typing in a percentage, or you can actually just click in here, left click, hold and drag upwards or downwards, and you can change your percentage that way. It's actually a pretty neat way of doing it. I'm going to put it back to its default value, which is 80. The next three controls that I'm going to go through, we're used to seeing anyway, but let's just quickly cover them. So first of all, we've got threshold. Threshold, once audio exceeds this threshold, then it will be compressed. The ratio dictates how much the audio gets compressed by, and the ratio can be set between 1.1 to 1 and 7 to 1. So it can go very, very low, and 7 to 1 is its maximum. It's a bus compressor, a mastering compressor. No real reason to have more than 7 to 1. Next up, of course, is the attack. The attack time is quite simply just how quickly the audio gets compressed once it goes above the threshold. Now, next up, we have something unusual. We haven't got one release parameter, we have two. One is for peak and one is for RMS. Now there are two LEDs just positioned here, and these two LEDs are used to indicate what the two release paths are doing at any particular time. When an LED is off, it means release has been completed. If the LED is on, it hasn't released yet. Next up, we're going to cover the peak crest, because that is directly related to our peak and RMS compression. So let's set this to 0. The peak crest basically alters the balance between peak and RMS detection. At 0 dB, which is where I've just put it to, it reacts equally to both the peak and RMS paths. So for all intents and purposes, both peak and RMS at 0 dB have the same threshold level. Now, if we turn this more to the left, it now starts to react more to the peaks and less to the RMS values. If we turn it all the way to the left, anti-clockwise in other words, this now makes our compressor into a peak compressor only, ignoring the RMS path, And as you can see, it's actually grayed out the release for the RMS because it's not in use because we're in peak mode. Put this back to 0. So conversely, if we start to go more to the right, or in other words, clockwise, we are going to affect the peaks less and affect the RMS more. And yet again, if we go all the way to the right, or all the way clockwise, we've now made our compressor into an RMS compressor only, and of course the release for the peak is now grayed out as well. So we double left click and put it back to its default value. Next we have the knee control. So this is probably a little bit more familiar to you. So it dictates how hard or soft the knee is. All the way to the left is a hard knee. And then the more we go to the right, the softer the knee becomes until we're all the way over here. And that's a soft knee compressor now. And of course, soft knee means that, of course, compression starts before it even reaches the threshold. So we'll double left click and put that back to its default value. Next, we're going to go to this drop down menu here, which is called stereo. Of course, it is a stereo compressor. However, it can also be used as a mono compressor. There are more choices in here. It can work on sum and difference signals, so meaning sum is our mid channel and difference is our side channels. And then of course it can work independently on either left or right. So we're going to leave it on stereo because that's what we're doing. And of course below here we have our gain reduction meter, which we're very familiar with. The scaling on it goes to 3 dB. However, when you go down here, you can see there's a plus sign and you can make it 6 dB, or you can keep pressing this and it goes all the way up to 33. You can even reset it back by going back here and you get a minus sign. If you leave it like this and you start compressing and you're getting more than 3 dB of compression, the gain reduction meter automatically alters itself. Over here to the right, we got makeup. So this is our makeup gain. So when we apply compression, of course, we're turning down the signal, and this makes up for the loss in signal, or the loss in volume, should I say. To the right of this, we've got one labeled dry mix. What this does is this introduces back in some of the dry unaffected mix, and thus giving us parallel compression. So when I first tried this, I discovered that it moves in very large steps, which is a little bit odd at first. And then I discovered that if I hit right click on the mouse and hold and then push, and then it moves a lot more smoothly. And so we can introduce some of our dry mix for parallel compression. Double left click puts it back. If we now go up to the label dry mix and double left click that is, it becomes a wet dry control for parallel compression as well. So I'm going to put that back where it was. Okay, out gain. Now we have another volume control. Now at first, yet again, this is a little bit of a head scratcher. This appears to be doing the same job as our makeup gain. However, it's not. First of all, this output gain appears in the signal chain after these two here. So this is the final control that the audio encounters before it leaves the compressor, before it leaves the processor. So what's going on here is, let's go back to makeup and dry mix. We can actually use our makeup as basically our compressed signal, a volume control for our compressed signal, introduce some of the dry mix and get a nice balance between the two of them. And once we're happy with the balance that we've got, if we still need to make up for gain reduction, we can then use this control here for the final output gain. To the right of this, we have what's called delta, the delta button. So what the delta button does when it's compressed, it allows you to listen in to what exactly the compressor is compressing. So which part of your signal is being compressed by the compressor and which parts of it are being left alone. This is also very handy to use if you want to hear what certain controls are actually doing to your signal. So all in all, quite a handy thing to have there, and we will be having a listen into it. And just below this, This one is an obvious one. It's a bypass button and bypasses the whole plugin and all processing. So let's have a look at what exactly we're going to be putting through it. Over here, got left and right overheads on the drum kit, one microphone on the kick and one microphone on the snare. All of these are then going through here, which is the drum bus, and this is where we have our compressor set up. The only other processing going on here, I'm going to show you, is on the drum bus. We have a couple of EQ moves, one just to brighten it up a bit, bring out the cymbals a bit more, and the other one is just to take a little bit of mud out of there. That's the only processor in play apart from the compressor. And let's have a quick listen. We're just going to run it over and over on one bar of the drums. Let's have a quick listen. And that's what we got. So let's start compressing. So on first sight, like I say, this may seem a little bit daunting, but it's worthwhile knowing all you got to do is just go in, threshold, ratio, makeup gain, and just have a listen to how this thing is working. Maybe work a little bit on your attack and so forth. You know, so you can get straight in and start working with this compressor. So let's do just that. Let's play. Setting ratio to 5:1, and let's compress. Okay, getting around between 3 and 4 dB of gain reduction. Add some makeup gain. Really nice sounding, really nice. Let's bypass. And back in. Nice, really subtle, but really, really nice. It just makes the drums overall just sound that little bit denser. Let's now play again and let's listen in and see what exactly is being compressed. So a lot of snare being compressed, very, very little of the kick. And quickly bypass again. Really nice sound, really, really nice sound. Okay, so now we're going to play around with this peak crest control. And what we're going to do is we're going to move it anti-clockwise to the left. In other words, we're going to affect the peaks more. In other words, we're going to affect the snare more. Let's have a go at that. A little bit of makeup gain. And let's bypass again. Without, of course. Back in. Such a lovely sounding compressor. I do believe you would have to work very hard to make this thing sound bad. Let's keep everything as it is, and let's bring our threshold down a little bit more, just so that we start affecting the kick as well. Let's get into that one. If we listen in with delta, so you can hear we're affecting the kick more now. Let's ease off the attack, so we can make the snare sound a bit better. Okay, nice, nice. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do with it, and I think you got enough here just to get you started, but the last thing we're going to do with it is we're going to play around with this low frequency relax and see how much of the kick we can bring back in. I'm going to set it to flat for the moment, and now listen for the kick. Change to 3 dB per octave. Kick sneaking through just a little bit more, but let's keep going. Let's go for the 6 and the 12 dB per octave as well. Let's go for that. sounding good. And there you have it, the TDR Kotelnikov Mastering Compressor by Tokyo Dawn Labs. You will find a link for this in the description. If you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can inform you when the next video is coming out. We are attempting to get at least one a week up here. And if you're interested, I do have a course on Udemy, udemy.com. I've put a link in the description for this as well. If you follow the link, it is a coupon so that you can get it for just €9.99 euros, that is. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.